Well, hey guys, how you doing today? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Glad to have you here. Well, today we're talking about a topic which is a little different in some ways than the topics we usually talk about on this channel. This doesn't have anything directly to do with UFOs or RV or crop circles and multiverses, but in some ways it does. The question is, should you delete your Facebook account? And it's something you really need to consider. You know, we had this scandal with Facebook allowing a company that had a survey to pay people $2 to $5 to get their opinions, but it's kind of secretly accessed all their information and all their friends' information. And then this company sold that to another company called Cambridge Analytica, who used it to look at people's preferences and behaviors and political persuasions, and the Republicans used it to help get Donald Trump elected. So this is kind of a serious situation. I mean, it's something that should be taken seriously because, I mean, when you use Facebook, you normally don't think that you're providing information to people that could be using all of the information you provide there, your comments and your likes and dislikes, in a manipulative, deceptive way. But that seems to be what happened here. And to kind of put this in perspective, you need to remember that initially when Facebook was created, it was called The Facebook. And there were other people involved at the time when Mark Zuckerberg was at Harvard. But it started really with a criminal action. They broke into the Harvard computer system to steal all the information about all the other Harvard students so they could create Facebook. It was initially intended to be something that would allow people at colleges to stay in contact with each other, students. But how are they going to get people to use it initially? Well, they basically just took all the data and put it onto the Facebook product software system, and that's how they started it. So it kind of started with a deceptive criminal act, and so I'm not surprised that it's still engaged in things that we consider morally dubious. Because, you know, there's this saying that the fish rots from the head down. And in this case, it was started with deception, and that deception still seems to be continuing. And just in case you're interested, you could learn about the early history of the Facebook in that movie called The Social Network. I mean, Sean Parker, who was the founder of Napster, was also involved. The Winklevoss twins and other people. So that movie kind of shows you how the whole thing started. If you've been following my channel, you know that a number of years ago, Facebook banned my ads on Facebook. They said that they didn't believe remote viewing was a real thing. They considered my ads to be, as they said, if I remember correctly, representative of deceptive and misleading services and products. Basically, they didn't believe that remote viewing, I was calling it at the time virtual viewing. Sometimes you could think of it as resonant viewing, but whatever you want to call it, I think there's decades and decades of evidence that show that this is a real phenomenon. I wouldn't be involved with it if I didn't think that it was an important phenomenon that showed us that there's something about the universe that we need to understand our connection to it. And as you know, I've gone in the direction of multiverse ideas, specifically those multiverse ideas that suggest that we live in a universe of interacting multiverses. But I think that data supports that this is real. Our own government here in the United States sponsored it for 20 years, maybe still sponsoring it as far as we know. And I offered at the time when Facebook said we don't think this is real, it is deceptive, to come out to, I think it's Menlo Park, where they are, right across from Stanford University, SRI International, where RV was invented in a sense, the modern version of it. I offered to come out there and give them a lecture on my dime to explain to them what RV was and why it was real. But there was no appeal. They weren't interested. So I've had my issues with Facebook. I know in Colorado, where I'm a resident here, they've challenged a lot of the dispensaries. And here in this state at the moment, marijuana dispensaries are legal. And they took down the pages of a lot of these dispensaries because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't believe in smoking pot, something like that. Now, my incident with Facebook advertising department reminded me a little bit of Russell Targ. Remember, he wrote this a lot of excellent books. Worked with Hal Puthoff, created RV with Ingo Swann and Pat Price and all other psychics. They worked with natural and taught psychics at SRI back in the 70s. But his most recent book was The Reality of ESP, which is, a physicist's proof of extrasensory perception. I think that's the title, something like that. But the point is, Russell Targ had his TEDx talk banned from TED Talks. Very similar. It's still on YouTube. You can check it out. I'll put a link for it right up here. But he had this very short introduction to what RV is, how it works, and so forth. And TED Talks decided, no, this isn't real. This is pseudoscience. I don't know what was going through their mind, but they banned an eminent scientist like Russell Targ from presenting. So this is the danger we face if we let these organizations censor what we do on the internet. So anyway, the point is, Facebook is an advertising company. We've been using it for all its free features. I mean, they provide this free platform, but there's a cost to it, which is they get all your information and they sell it to advertisers. I know because I went to take a course in Facebook advertising. It was quite an expensive course, and I learned all the ins and outs of how to advertise on Facebook. It's highly targeted based on who you are and what you do. So you're giving your information away for free to them in exchange for free use of this platform. So is it really a good deal or not? Well, we now see it can be used deceptively. And the point is, you really need to decide if you really want to share all that information about yourself or not. So the real point here is, should we allow a private company like this? It's actually a public company because their shares are on the New York Stock Exchange. But should we allow a company like this to censor what we do? Should we allow them to influence our interests, whether we're a cannabis dispensary or we're interested in promoting UFO disclosure? I mean, I think it's really questionable to have anybody interfering with your freedom of speech, with your ability and your right to say what you think and feel at the deepest levels. If you've someone else who you're sharing this information with saying, no, you can't say this, you can't do this, you can't do remote viewing, you can't sell pot. I mean, what is that? I'm not willing to put up with that. And I'm sure that you're not either. So the bottom line is, if you're a fan of this channel, and thanks for watching and subscribing, if you're a fan of these topics like I am, you know that there's a bigger picture going on here about how the universe actually works, and our societies have not fully engaged this larger universe yet, whether it's resonant viewing or extraterrestrials or UFOs or the weird phenomena we see in and around crop circles and new ideas about the multiverse. I mean, how this whole thing really works. We can't let anyone guide our conversations, distort our thinking about these subjects, or dissuade us from investigating these topics because they're not mainstream enough. I mean, we're not going to let that type of thinking affect our dialogue here between you and me. When I put these videos up, you comment on it. I love it. That's what it's all about. And we can't let anyone dissuade us from doing that. And fortunately, YouTube has been excellent so far. I've gotten involved. I put my first video up in 2008, and they don't censor, well, they don't censor anything that I've seen. We need to keep our freedom of thought alive. We can't let anyone censor what we're doing or subtly manipulate us against our best interests. I've put a notice on my Facebook profile and my pages, New Crystal Mind and Total Sensory Awareness, my other page, that I'm taking them down in 72 hours because I guess I'm just not going to put up with this behavior anymore. I'm not tolerating it. I don't think we should be spied upon by these companies and then the information kind of sold. And it's actually worse than that, because if you had Facebook on your phone, for example, apparently they could monitor, who you're calling, how long you were talking to them. It's a lot of information you're giving them, and it's a little too deep. And I just felt like this just tipped the bucket, so to speak. So I'm deleting my Facebook profile, and there's plenty of ways you can stay in touch with me right here on YouTube and LinkedIn, Twitter, my blog, New Crystal Mind, and openingminds.info, Opening Minds, music, all the places where you'll find me. So there's no problem with us staying in contact. I do appreciate all your questions and comments and so forth. And if you do decide to delete your Facebook profile, no problem, we'll still be in contact. I'm sure you'll have a lot more time every day to do things that really matter instead of just looking at pictures. I mean, I love cute animals too, but how much of your time do you want to spend every day doing this? Okay. So anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon. Take care and bye.